Okay, I'll mute.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another double shot of Steelers. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. And our man Vic Asher gets us started off in style here. He comes in and says the double shot is the place to be, which is debatable depending on the day/mood, or for that matter, the subject that comes up on that given day. It's been kind of, in the nation for a while. You feel me on this? There's not that excitement, that energy that you need. And I feel like this show reflects that to an extent, because I'm not going to manufacture stuff. I say all the time, I'm not going to put out, hope stuff just to get everybody in a good mood or whatever. You have to report on whatever you're reporting on. You have to base your opinion on whatever it is that you're reporting. But Vic comes in with a 50. He drops a 5-0 on the process before we get going, gifting that many memberships to people. So what I'm saying and what Vic is saying is that you don't have any excuse, because a lot of those just got sent out to you automatically, like Travis. Travis Farber just got one. Travis is in. Jared Kraft just came in. He got one. That's how this is going to go. Whatever it takes for us to get to 3,000. We'll get more into that later in the show. What I want to talk about today is the 2-week point. 2-week mark, two-week distance from the NFL draft in the first round. And there's just too much going on with the various quarterbacks for me to ignore. The possibility, however remote, however misguided it might be, for the Steelers to take one in the first round. Today, on the South Side, Shedeur Sanders, of course, the son of Dion, quarterback out of Colorado. Before that, Jackson State. He came in for a visit. And for those who will see, hear, or read reporting about this sort of thing, and you'll hear that the Steelers went to dinner with so-and-so, or they met with so-and-so, and then there's a visit. This is different. The visit is the player comes into Pittsburgh, goes through the tunnel, drives on over down to the South Side complex, and actually goes into the facility. And Shedeur did that today. Shedeur now, as such, joins 2 other top-class quarterbacks, meaning within this class, in Jackson Dart and Tyler Shuck. Now, what I'd love to be able to do is to look at that group and say to you, hey, man, there's some aces in there. There's some no-doubters, absolute franchise guys, great class, except that that's not the case. I think almost everybody would agree that once you get past Cam Ward out of Miami, that you don't really have, somebody that's going to leap out at you. If you put these guys in order, it would probably be Sanders, Dart, and Shuck. But then there's different criteria for different teams and different needs. For example, Sanders might be a little bit more of a project. Dart needs to become more advanced in terms of his reads, finding his second read guides. And Shuck, who's going to be 25 years old, is seen as the one that you could just parachute in and let him compete for a job. He's advanced. He's got limitations of his own. He's got things that don't have people all stoked about him as well. But he comes in with arm talent. He comes in with the ability to just make plays. Which way are the Steelers leaning? I'm still going to say defensive tackle, okay? I'm still going to say that they're looking more than anything to make some sort of Steelers-type statement that this is who we are. Also, and very relevant here, defensive tackle is a much, 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 much stronger position in this class. But what I want to talk about today with you, and then after the break here with Chris Halleck, is who are these guys? Who are these quarterbacks that they've brought in? What are their varying skill sets? And what do the Steelers bringing them in say about where they are in the general quarterback thing? Leaving out who from this whole discussion and debate. When he decides he wants to come down from Mount Olympus and bequeath us with his presence, he can do that, and we'll talk about him. I got nothing to say about him at this stage. We're talking about the future here. We're talking about the young quarterbacks that the Steelers can bring in either as a 2 and a 3 behind Mason Rudolph or as a 3 behind the 2 veterans. So we're going to be right back. We're going to talk with Chris about this right after this.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Stella Fierce comes in with a $10 contribution and a curious time reference here. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Help me out with this.
DK's 5 p.m.
So is she in like Nova Scotia? Wait, are they one out? Aren't they like? Isn't there a part of Canada that's a half hour ahead or something weird like that?
Yeah, it's something strange.
There's a half-hour time zone.
Yeah, Jim Gaffigan had a joke about that. I can't remember how it goes.
He, of course, also being Canadian.
Yeah, it's funny, but I don't know. Maybe she's like, well, after the show, you hit up Starbucks after 5 o'clock.
Help us out here. Where are you that it's 5 p.m. now? You're like out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I don't get it. Hang on. Say something about the quarterbacks, Chris. I got work to do over here.
So
yeah, maritime time zone is what we're looking for here, right?
Yeah, I think.
All right, go ahead. All right, quarterbacks.
Yeah, so quarterback. Listen, I still don't think the Steelers are going to take one in the first round. I don't. I do think that you bring in Shedeur Sanders today for a visit, as the Steelers did, because you have to prepare for all possible avenues in the draft. You have to, prepare for the chance that maybe all the defensive tackles are gone. Maybe the running backs that you were looking at are possibly gone. Maybe the receivers you were looking at are gone. And Shedeur Sanders, for whatever reason, is sliding all the way to you in your lap at 21. And you need to make sure that you've done your homework on the kid and not just trust the fact that he's the son of a Hall of Fame player. You have homework to do. And the Steelers, when you don't have a quarterback, they need to do their due diligence. They need to do their work on the quarterback position. Even if it's not a great quarterback class, you still have to look. You still have to turn over those stones, because who knows what you may end up finding. You can't just throw your hands in the air and say, well, I guess we'll find one next year. I mean, even though it's supposed to be a good one next year, there's still a whole college season to be played in the interim. You still have to do your homework. Because what if you find it now? What if you just happen to find that guy now? What if you happen to find your Russell Wilson, as the Seahawks did, well over a decade ago? What if you happen to find your Dak Prescott, as the Cowboys did in the 4th round several years ago? You just never know when you're going to find your guy, and you've got to continue to throw darts at the dartboard in order to find one out. I'm not just using that reference.
Dart pun into there. I like that. I like that. Don't think this stuff gets, ignored. Okay, to the important stuff.
Here we go.
We're trying to find Stella on the time zone map here. There are 3 provinces in Canada that go 1 hour ahead. Or 1 hour. I don't know which direction that would be, but there are 1 hour time zones. It's New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and of course Prince Edward Island. It's a tiny little thing that goes as a full province in Canada.
Yeah.
There are also half-hour places. There's only 11 of them in the world. I just throw this in just for fun. And one of them is the Canadian province of Newfoundland. Why on earth they would have that? I presume it has something to do with farming or fishing. You know what I mean?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah. There's also some Caribbean islands, and there's a tiny portion of Quebec that also goes by the 1 hour thing. So we have nailed really where Stella Fierce is coming at. Okay. This is breaking news here on the Double Shot Show. Chris, where the quarterbacks are concerned.
Yeah.
And the quarterbacks that you mentioned, you laid that out really well. You're looking at a scenario here where there's different types that they can choose from. And for that matter, different timelines for their projections or their arrival or their potential real competition for an NFL job. However, keeping this real here, the idea of them taking somebody in the first round it's still just such a reach because of the gap that exists between Ward and the rest of this class. And then from there, the gap that exists between the overall depth and talent of the defensive tackles versus the quarterbacks. So if you're sitting there at 21, meaning sitting there, meaning not moving up or down, what are you doing? Meaning as it relates to a quarterback, what are you doing? Shedeur, you can make the argument for. A lot of people would.
Yeah, okay. And I think the main reason why for Shedeur is not again, I just want to throw it out there now. Like, it's not because of who his dad is. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that he is probably the best quarterback in this class, and I'm throwing Cam Ward into this in terms of having ice water in his veins in the pocket. That dude does not flinch under pressure whatsoever. And that is a rare trait to have for a college quarterback, especially one that stands under 6'2". That is a special trait to have, and you can work with that a lot, because when the guy does not put his eye, what was one of the biggest complaints people had about Kenny Pickett was that his eyes would go down as soon as pressure would start, and then he'd spin out to try to get away from it. That's not Shedeur. His eyes do not go down when the pressure is mounting. He stands tall in the pocket, and sometimes he almost stands there too long because he's waiting for the big play to happen and it doesn't happen. That stuff can be coached up. When you have the ability to stand in the pocket and to not flinch under that pressure, that's a special trait to have and a very valuable one.
I love scout speak. His eyes do not go down, and you hear that one a lot.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, you just visually, you're picturing the quarterback. Here come all these 300-pound monsters at you. What's the first thing you do? You go, whoop.
Yep, look down.
Because you're going, survival mode. Okay, and in Kenny's case, it's, I guess you could say, tuck and run, because he goes, whoop, and then does the spin, goes all the way around. This chair actually could do that if I was feeling more ambitious, 270, and then head off in that direction and make Dan Moore really mad and cost more a sack.
Or cost more, a little bit more money that he just made in free agency.
Our good friend Justin Watson, a regular on here and a member. By the way, the way to become that is to go to dkps.net/join. Says, I really dislike this quarterback class. Justin does his homework too. He's not some casual.
I know that.
He said, I might dislike this class more than the 22 class. That's hard to believe, because with the 22 class, first of all, if you go back, I was going to say, even if you just go back retroactively, Justin, you're going to have a hard time making a case for anything over that 22 class, because it's not just Kenny that went south. It was, Malik Willis and really everybody.
It was a bad class.
Yeah. Now this one,
really bad.
if you have Cam Ward, minus the hay, comes in and takes an NFL job and maybe becomes something in this league, then right off the bat, you're going to have a better class than what that one was here. Peter says, DK, does the overall predictability of the play action pass hurt the offense enough to warrant changes in the overall scheme? If you are coming onto this program, Peter, and suggesting that the Steelers cut down on play action, I got news for you. This guy over here wants nothing to do with you in life. All he does is sit to my left in these press boxes and go, play action, play action, play action.
Yeah. Listen, I don't understand because whenever Matt Canada was the offensive coordinator, what was everybody screaming? Other than fire Canada. It was
after that. Yeah.
Yeah. Why isn't there any play action? Why do they never put guys in motion? Like, there was never anything to try to lull the defense into anything. Play action on first down in today's NFL, I'm not going to call it a cheat code, but it is a very, very strong tool to have in the playbook. And Arthur Smith does it a lot, and he should do it a lot, especially if you are a run first team. What you need to have is some concepts. You need to have a quarterback who can do what you want to do off of play action. And unfortunately for Russell Wilson, who is typically a good play action passer, is that Arthur Smith out of play action likes to attack the middle of the field. And where is Russell Wilson not great at throwing the football? Or does it?
How would we know? He didn't even try.
Well, that's
the middle of the field is the answer. Yeah.
Right. So it was not a good match when it comes to the way Arthur Smith wants to run play action and the quarterbacks that he had last year. So if you have a guy who can run play action and you can attack the middle of the field, and I don't want to even mention his name, but the guy who they want to be their quarterback can do that. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, no one would question what Aaron Rodgers used to be able to do.
Yeah.
And what Aaron Rodgers can still do on occasion. He's shown that, and he showed it again in 2024. I don't pretend otherwise. I'm not trying to rewrite history here.
Oh, yeah. And even then, you can find quarterbacks, even in this class, who might be able to do those things. You can find quarterbacks who might be able to do. And listen, they should not be drafting a quarterback to try to find who's a good fit for Arthur Smith. He might not be the offensive coordinator in 2 years from now.
That's actually a great point. And with respect to Art and what he brings and what he can bring, quarterbacks, if you get a franchise quarterback, they're going to outlast multiple coordinators over the course of their NFL career. So you don't cater to the coordinator.
Yeah.
That almost rhymed.
How many coordinators did Ben have over his career? It's a lot.
No, he had one. He had Bruce. Meaning he only listened to Bruce.
Right. Right.
Okay? He tolerated Todd Haley, and then who the heck knows how you would describe what that was with Matt Canada.
Yeah.
Quentin Chandler comes in and addresses you by your last name, like as if you were a soccer player. I like that. Halleck, would you be upset if the Steelers got you-know-who, and also Shedeur Sanders fell to us at 21, and he sat for a year? I honestly think it would be intriguing. You can only answer this, by the way, Chris, is if you address him as Chandler.
All right, Chandler. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, to be completely honest. I don't think it doesn't. If you get Aaron Rodgers, I'll just say his name. I don't care. If you sign Aaron Rodgers,
it did it too, and
Shadeur's there, but you also have a defensive tackle that you love there, and you're just not convinced on Shedeur, then I understand building up the roster, building the way Matt Williamson is putting it in his podcasts is building up the nest for next year, for possibly next year's quarterback. I'm fine with that too, because Aaron Rodgers, no matter what, is a short-term option. Like
when you say the nest, or Matt says the nest, what are we talking? You're talking about picks.
We're talking about not just
assets.
Picks. We're talking about assets. We're talking about the roster itself, having the roster as ready to go for when that quarterback is drafted. If the quarterback that you want to get is in next year's draft, you want to have this roster as ready to go as possible. That means beefing the trenches up. That means having no questions at running back. That means having your playmakers at receiver, which the Steelers just helped take care of that by signing DK Metcalf to a $150 million contract. Having everything ready to go so that whenever that quarterback, pretty much, it probably won't be at the level that it was when Ben was drafted, but when Ben was drafted, there wasn't much else work that needed to be done to that roster. It was pretty much ready to go.
I mean, they won, not to be disrespectful here, okay, because Ben's wearing 2 rings, okay?
Right.
And he earned them both.
Mm-hmm.
But they won a Super Bowl with him arguably playing at his worst.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how loaded that roster was.
Yep.
Including in that actual game.
Yes, correct. That's what it is. I mean, that's the ideal situation, is that you have your roster ready to go so that when your franchise you don't want to put your franchise quarterback in a Bryce Young situation where he goes to the Carolina Panthers and has absolutely nothing around him.
Cody comes in and says that Jalen Milroe, who also gets discussed an awful lot, he hasn't been in for a formal visit, so he wasn't on that little list of 3 here, but the Steelers have spent time with him. Mm-hmm. He's extremely athletic. He's intelligent, a leader. He's a hard worker. If you're going to bet on a project quarterback, he might be your best bet. I guess the way to think, this is why I keep swinging back to this Rodgers thing because I want to put these types of players in that room. Okay, I want to build up those assets in-house, not just as draft picks toward 26. Okay, I want to throw multiple guys against the wall and see who sticks, up to and including Mason. Mason's 29 and has never really been given a significant chance. The last time he was given one, he did pretty well with it. I'm really inclined to disclude the Nashville scenario because that team was just so awful.
Yeah.
But where Milroe is concerned, to me, that's a perfect guy that you have in that 3 situation, more so than Shedeur. Okay, where you just say, listen, you're here. We're going to work with you. We're going to try everything that we can to bring the best out of you. The quarterbacks that are ahead of you on the depth chart are going to mentor you. They're going to be total pros about this. That's a scenario that I can really live with. And then if he's not the guy, then you have a situation like the one the Patriots just had, where they had a kid. They thought they might give him a chance. He played a little bit, showed some good signs. He obviously hasn't gotten a whole lot of an NFL look either. And they said, all right, go ahead. And they moved him on to another team, but they got something for the asset. That to me is what you do. Put as many of these guys into the equation as possible.
Yeah, I listen. When it comes to Jalen Milroe, I the more and more I'm, because even though I've kind of already done a deep dive on him, but the more and more I kind of dipping my toe back into that pool, I really, really like Jalen Milroe a lot. Not to the point where I'm ready to spend a first-round pick on him or anything like that, but man, if the Steelers get back into the second round and he's still there, I'm all for it, man. Because again, as I've stated before, if he hits, he's going to hit big.
Okay,
big,
good. Okay, I respect that. I respect Daniel Pike coming in and saying that Milroe is enticing.
Mm-hmm.
I get the excitement thing. We're going to have people that are going to be on board with anyone who is an extraordinary athlete, even if, as Jeff says here, he happens to be a 3-year project with Will Howard well ahead of him. That said, when you watch someone like this and the questions are about his throwing, his questions are about his actual quarterbacking, what do you see? This isn't just for Milroe, but with anybody, where you say, okay, that right there, that's a flaw that can't be fixed. Like I see here and read that, for example, about Dart right now, who's a different type of quarterback. Dart can't get past the first read, just can't do it. And these people, Chris, I'm sure you've seen some of these analyses where just say Dart is DOA. Absolutely no chance. I don't care what beautiful big plays he makes in that offense at Mississippi. He's going to be a guy that is, it's a first read offense, which makes it sound like they really dumbed it down for the dude.
Yeah.
Okay. He can't do that in the NFL. What do you, when you see these guys, do you say, oh, okay, other than like a weak arm, that would be the obvious one. That'd be the obvious disqualifier.
Yeah, and that's not a concern with Jalen Milroe. That dude's got a legitimate NFL arm. No, the one thing, especially in terms of Milroe, that you can look to, because when you look at the short accuracy, it's not good. And when you look at the slow progression in breaking down, or the slowness in which going through his reads and his progressions and everything like that, like, it's not great. But when you look at, number one, he's extremely smart. I mean, he was an academic All-American. He's extremely smart. The work ethic is, I mean, it's all over the place when it comes to, firsthand witness to everything you hear about the guy is that this guy is a legitimate worker. This dude's work ethic is off the charts. He's extremely smart. When you hear that kind of stuff, you hear, but this kid is not only willing to do the work to try to get better, he's also really smart and intelligent and can pick up on stuff a little bit easier and faster than maybe some other guys can. So I think when you see those kind of, I guess, intangibles match, like it almost raises the floor a little bit for me.
Big Tiny says Milroe had better stats in college than Lamar Jackson did. Louisville, he played tougher competition as well. I would take a shot on Milroe. You know what I think too? I think that Mike Tomlin has he doesn't like to draft guys and have them just sit out in the lobby and wait for a couple of years. I think he would much prefer to have somebody in the fold who could give him a weapon on Sundays as a rookie. So I would definitely not discount that. This coach thinks so short term, so not beyond the tip of his nose, that I would not, I'm telling you, I just would not rule that out. He's going to say, well, at least we can bring him in and use him in certain situations. Am I right here? I don't know.
But I mean, that's what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson when they first brought him in, because it's not like they drafted Lamar and they were like, all right, here you go, buddy. It's your offense.
They did weird things with Lamar. They did. And it wasn't until Lamar's second year that they went all in with the crazy, unstoppable. That was the word. Remember that summer? The unstoppable offense. And then, damn it, if they weren't right. Yeah. That was the worst part of that, was you could deal with how arrogant they were being as long as they'd be proven wrong, and they weren't.
No, they were not. And Lamar definitely, and I will say this about Lamar too. Lamar was a more polished prospect than Jalen is now. He was a better thrower of the football than Jalen is now, coming out of college. I'm not saying that he was a supremely better prospect. He still had some serious things to clean up, but Lamar is living proof that if you can clean those things up, you can become a superstar with the type of talent. And that's what Jalen Milroe could be if he hits.
That would be, yeah. But that's why you do more than one of them, Chris. That's my point here. You're not winning a Super Bowl in 2025. You're just not.
No.
Go. I mean, no, you're not. Try to imagine what all would have to go right for this team to become a legitimate contender in 2025.
You'd have to have some luck for sure. You'd have to have, I mean, shoot, man, it could be a situation like, I'm not taking anything away from the 2008 Steelers whatsoever. Not taking anything away. But that road got a lot easier when Tom Brady went down with an ACL injury in week 1.
Oh, you always need that, though. I mean, you look at over the years, some of the playoff games that the Steelers have won under Tomlin. I've seen a list of this. Have you ever seen a list of the backup quarterbacks that he beat in the playoffs?
Yeah.
It's like you go, oh my God, is that what it takes? Like everybody's number one has to go down for the Steelers to have a chance. Now, Slim says that Lamar isn't that great of a thrower. But see, the thing is Chris will fight you over that. Yeah, Chris will fight you on that.
He is now.
Lamar has the whole wobbly Lamar ball that we remember from his first couple of seasons, which I think is imprinted in a lot of people's heads. Oh, no.
No. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but man, Lamar's numbers from the pocket are legit numbers. Yeah,
and the funny thing about Lamar is that it still doesn't look at times like, Joe quarterback. There isn't that. Being literal in a Joe quarterback, Joe Burrow, where everything about the technique is just masterful. Like he should be on the NFL logo. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the execution from Lamar's fingertips to his target right now it's very, very, very good.
Yeah, he's really, really developed into a legitimate passer of the football, which is why he's turned into a two-time MVP. And you could make a really, really good case. I voted for Josh Allen in the PFWA awards, but you could make a really good case that he should have won MVP this past year too. It's
Lamar?
Yes. You can make a really good argument that he should have won it for a third time. I voted for Josh Allen. Like that was my vote. I thought that he was the most valuable player in the league, but that doesn't discredit the fact that Lamar Jackson was also. Take Lamar Jackson off of the Ravens. Are they winning the AFC North uncontested? I don't think so.
Best quarterback in football is Burrow, and I'll fight anybody on that one. I'm sorry, and maybe it's because I often see Allen at not his best.
Mm-hmm.
But the stuff that Burrow can do and the circumstances in which he does it, which really shouldn't be a consideration for this type of analysis. It's not, it's not like Allen would prefer to be playing behind the Bengals offensive line, or without a running back and so forth. We're going to take a couple more today. Is Tyler Shuck as polished as Jackson, meaning Lamar Jackson, Tyler Shuck, like for his age and for coming out of the draft, it wouldn't even be close, right?
No, I mean, as good as polished as Tyler Shuck is coming out of the draft, no, nobody in this class is anywhere near as polished as a two-time MVP.
He's ready to play. It's just that we're not talking about a very high ceiling.
No, and he's got a lot of work to do in terms of not getting rattled in the pocket. That's a concern of his, probably the biggest one.
Damon King says, "Go get a left-handed quarterback."
I don't even know if there probably are left-handed passers in this class, but I mean, I can't name any off the top of my head. I mean, everybody that I've watched so far, like really, really watched so far, is right-handed.
See, Daniel Hance comes in with an instruction for you, Chris. The problem is Daniel Hance isn't a member yet. I don't know what kind of authority he comes with. You know what I'm saying? Like, can he just come in and say, "Hey, Halleck," the way Chandler did earlier?
Yeah.
Talk to us about Kenneth Grant. When I first read this, I thought it said, "Talk to us about Kenneth Grant from start to finish of the show," which is actually a possibility here. But Daniel, after he comes in with his membership, dkps.net/join, is going to ask you to let everybody hear about Grant and what he could bring to the Steelers. And that means right away.
Yeah. Well, with Kenneth Grant, he could be your immediate option as a nose tackle. He's built like a nose tackle, but he moves like a defensive end. Not an edge rusher, but a defensive end in the Steelers, like 3-4 defense. So he could be a defensive end if needed be. Most likely more of a 3-tech for those of you who understand football language. That's lining up between the guard and the tackle. So when the Steelers are in their nickel defense and dime defense, he could be one of the two interior defenders alongside either Hayward or Benton. He's a freak of nature, and when it comes to size and speed, and I mean, when you see a 340-pound man run down a running back like he did against Penn State,
there he goes.
It's something special. This dude moves. He doesn't move like normal 340-pound men. He's also strong. He's really quick off the ball. He's got to do a little bit more to play a little bit more nosy. He needs to keep his pads lower because otherwise he gets his leverage taken away. And when you get your leverage taken away, you're literally a waste of space, not a space eater, but a waste of space. But either way, it's a very tantalizing package very much. I have a lot more written up on him in our Steelers feed on dkpittsburghsports.com. So I'll just plug that too. You can go read that there as well.
The Kenneth Grant piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
The PEF comes in. PEF gets our last word. Mostly because we love the PEF. It says Mike Tomlin obsess over high floors with draft prospects a bit too much. I think there are a lot of criticisms that can be fairly levied against everybody who's involved in the draft, including Tomlin. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I would throw that one at him, the PEF, because when I think of the Steelers' better picks of the Tomlin tenure, what I think of first and foremost are the guys that they drafted that fit the Steelers' defensive scheme, for example, that they fit a 3-4 alignment, even if they didn't play any such position in college. TJ Watt comes to mind, obviously leaps to mind.
Yeah.
But you're also talking about Alex Highsmith coming out of Charlotte. Obviously not a big program. He was in a 4-3. And they just looked at his skill set and they said, here's what we can get out of this guy if he comes here. Guess what? They were right. Going back a good bit further, Lamar Woodley was a known commodity, obviously, in college. But Lamar wasn't doing that. Lamar wasn't, one hand down, go get the quarterback. Mm-hmm. He started doing that in Pittsburgh. So that to me is looking at a player more from a ceiling standpoint than it is from a floor. You're taking something of a risk with it, but if it pays off, listen, notice all these guys I mentioned are edge rushers. If all Tomlin ever had to do was draft edge rushers or the Steelers as an institution, I mean, they have a third guy who comes in, late in Nick Herbig that would be a starter, I think, on pretty much every other team in the National Football League because they know what they're doing at that position. they need help at others.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I remember somebody yesterday said we should trade all of our fourth through seventh picks to get back into the second round. And because we don't use the fourth through seventh picks. That was the way it was phrased. And I'm thinking to myself, as soon as I read that, I'm like, man, Nick Herbig was a fourth round pick. Calvin Austin was a fourth round pick. Like, don't tell me that they don't use those picks and that they don't turn into something. Yeah, Nick Herbig would be a starter on most teams right now at edge rusher. But I'll give an example of a guy who I think that they drafted with a much higher ceiling than a floor and in recent years, and that's Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones, they knew he was more raw coming out of college. And I mean, more accomplished as a run blocker for sure, but he had a lot of room to grow and still has a lot of room to grow in pass protection. But they drafted him because of what he could turn into if he realized that potential.
And yeah. See, we just spent a whole day on Broad, but that's the thing that drives you nuts is you thought he set that floor, his own floor as a rookie.
Yeah.
You're like, if he's never any better than this, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then the regression comes. Yeah, I appreciate everybody who has participated in this program, and Chris will do one more tomorrow, and then we start getting really like crazy close to the draft. We're going to be, by the way, next week getting a whole lot more like intensive on the draft. We're going to be as we're not messing around. Right. We're going to be doing that. Let's do it again tomorrow, Chris.
Sounds good.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Look at this.
My face is right here. Hello.
It's unbelievable. She had to walk away. So she left me with this part.
This is funny.
Let me see if I can.
The beauty of
just being so helpless. That's what we are without her. We're just helpless. I certainly am. Can you change this to the...
I can try.
We're actually on the third segment here. Okay, Chris just got out. All right, I think we figured it out like that. Okay. All right. Yes, Skunkworks is amused by my ineffectiveness. She's doing something, Anyway, this is why you stay for this lame part at the end. We're going to take care of some business today. I don't have the number of memberships here because, again, she's tied up. She's the one that gets out of the last we checked. I think it was at 1812. We want to get to 3,000 by the start of training camp. The funny thing is, I have a feeling that once we get to training camp and we're getting those live reports for Chris and our entire staff, I'll be out there as well in Latrobe, that you're going to start seeing more and more and more of these, of the memberships and whatever. And we might even be at 5,000 by the time the actual Steelers season starts. Yeah, Steelers love gets it right. That is why she's the boss. That's how that goes. Let's take care of business today, as we often do. Ben Gibson came in as a new member. That's appreciated. Welcome to the fold, Ben. Jared Kraft comes in. Travis Farber comes in. That's a completely new name to me, and I have this weird, goofy photographic memory about this kind of stuff. Stella Fierce came in not once, but twice. She came in, first of all, with this strange time element thing from somewhere out on the Atlantic Ocean, I think, thinking that we were on at 5 p.m. Sorry, Stella, it's been made too easy. Reinforcing her support from the Maritime provinces, she came in with another 20 after that. And the headliner today is our man, Vic. Vic came in and killed it with this innocent little, he did this first, this little innocent little text like, hey, this is the place to be. And you're thinking, all right, Vic is here. And then Vic drops a 50 on us. Appreciate having everybody here. Appreciate the way this place is growing. Love the vibe in here. I love the fact that we disagree with each other and at the same time aren't ripping each other's heads off of our necks, That's a cool vibe. That's a thing that we want to try to sustain even into the season whenever everybody's emotions get a lot hotter. That's the kind of community we're trying to build here, in particular on the YouTube channel. If you are not a member yet, you can see right over here underneath the 3000 thing, the dkps.net/join. The way to do that is to type it into your web address as if you're typing in, I don't know, like cnn.com or something. Just type it up there. dkps.net/join is the web address, and that'll take you where you need to be here. Steelers Loves calls this a safe space. What's a safe space from trolls and idiots, I'd like to think? Because if you're a troll or an idiot, believe me, you don't last here. We poof you in a hurry. We're looking for people who are here to talk about football and not to be, dirtbags or whatever. Appreciate you guys, and we will do this again tomorrow.